Perfect. Alrighty. So, hi guys, I am George from DoraHacks, and welcome to episode 3 of the Dora Grant DAO Community Voting Round 1 Finalist Demo Session. I will be your host and moderator for this demo session, and please feel free to reach out to me anytime via my Telegram at GP_Dora if you'd like to connect and chat with me about building a project or partnership with DoraHacks. For a bit of background on the Dora Grant DAO program, it is a community-driven program to fund the hacker movement, explore and assist hackers with innovative ideas, and eventually help them build important products for the future of multi-chain Web3 ecosystems. At DoraHacks, we support the hacker movement and strongly encourage our community to participate in helping select which startup projects they believe in by voting for these projects, selecting the ones that they believe should receive funding from the Dora Grant DAO. I'll speak a little bit now about the voting process before I introduce the projects that will be sharing their project with us today, so that the community can get familiar with how it is going to work. So in order to vote, community members will need to utilize the Dora staking function to receive VC Dora, voice credit Dora, which is used as voting credit to participate in the whole voting process. To receive VC Dora, community members will need to connect their wallet to the Dora staking function and ensure that they have Dora token and also a little bit of ETH in their wallet to cover their small gas fee when staking. You will then be able to stake your Dora token for up to 4 years, and you will receive VC Dora in return. The amount of VC Dora you receive depends on how much Dora token you stake and, of course, the duration that you stake it for. It is important to remember that one vote equals 0.5 VC Dora. So the amount that you should stake and the duration that you want to stake for should be calculated based on how many votes you would like. For more information on how to stake Dora, please visit the DoraHacks.io blog link, which is in the description. Within there, you'll also be able to find a video link which shows you how to do it. So today with us, we have got 2 finalist projects joining us to speak about their project and give us all a demo session. They are Klizma and Faro. For the audience, please feel free to share any questions that you may have during the sessions in the YouTube or Binance Live chat rooms. I'm more than happy to ask these teams these questions as we go. So without further ado, let's welcome the Faro team to present their project. Welcome, guys.
Thanks, George. Let's get the slides on.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you, George. So we are Faro, a liquid staking protocol for layer 2 zero knowledge rollups. So we'll talk about the background, why ZKL2s are the next big wave, what the problem with current zero knowledge rollups are, and why liquid staking isn't available on rollups just quite yet, the market, and why demand for liquid staking is growing across the layer 2 and POS system ecosystems. Finally, we'll talk about the solution, why Faro is the ideal solution for layer 2 rollups, and our plan, which includes the timeline and fund allocation. So a little bit about the background in ZK systems and liquid staking. Ethereum needs scalability. Ethereum is currently bottlenecked by its own execution layer and its limited and expensive block space. Layer 2s are currently the best solution for moving computation off-chain. So you have some expensive transaction that's expensive to transact on the main chain. You move it to a layer 2 ZK rollup. You generate a zero knowledge proof that the transaction is valid, and you relay that proof along with the call data back onto Ethereum, and you gain seemingly infinite scalability since the computation is done on this ZK rollup, and you prove to the Ethereum main chain that it was done correctly. So ZK rollups are starting to happen. We're seeing it with the Polygon stack, like Polygon Hermes, Maiden, Zero, ZK Sync, Starkware, Scroll, some of the L2s that you've probably heard of. And proof of stake is an ideal consensus mechanism for this type of infrastructure. So at a high level, what is staking? It's really participating in the functioning of the protocol and consensus itself. So that involves processing transactions, maintaining the state of the ledger by running your own full proof of stake node on chain. So you run your own infrastructure and you lock up funds in exchange for receiving yield from the protocol. You attest to the validity of transactions and that the network is functioning correctly, and you gain rewards in return. So what is the problem with staking, traditional staking that we see across many alternative layer 1 blockchains? So traditional staking works by having users stake their own funds and set up their own staking infrastructure and run their own full nodes, but they're bound by lockup periods. You lock up your stake for a certain number of weeks, or in the case of the beacon chain, for an unknown period of time until withdrawals are enabled. And this is not capital efficient, for one. And since you're running your own hardware, if your node goes down or you double sign a transaction, you are at risk of being slashed by the protocol and your stake being taken away. Liquid staking obviously solves these drawbacks, which we'll get into in the next slide. So liquid staking is a natural primitive on top of staking. It unlocks liquidity and collateral for your staked positions. So when staking in a smart contract, you essentially mint what's known as a derivative token, like STETH, which are backed one-to-one to your initial stake. So your derivative tokens, your STETH, can be used across the DeFi ecosystem, like protocols in Yearn, Curve, MakerDAO, to compound your yield. So you're essentially earning yield on top of yield, which leads to increased liquidity and capital efficiency. And at its core, STETH is just a ERC20 token that earns staking rewards and transaction fees and allows you to, in addition to staking your native token, you can now stake your STETH token and use it across the DeFi ecosystem. So you have more flexibility, more liquidity, and capital efficiency by having a token that can be used across the DeFi ecosystem. Think of this derivative token associated with liquid staking kind of like a voucher, right? You stake your tokens in the protocol. In traditional staking, you can't do anything beyond that. In liquid staking, you receive a voucher that says this is your stake, and you can always redeem your derivative token one-to-one to your initial stake token. So on to the market of layer 2s and liquid staking. Ethereum staking market share is dominated by 3 players at the moment. It's Lido, who is nearing the 33% barrier, Coinbase, who has 15% market share, and Rocket Pool, who has 4%. Coinbase is a centralized exchange. Lido is permission staking, and Rocket Pool is permissionless, which means anyone can set up their own staking contracts and run a full node. The total Ethereum value staked right now on the Beacon chain is about $25 million. That accounts for 10% of the current Ethereum in circulation. We expect that number to go up over time. In terms of the projected growth for layer 2s, current TVL across the layer 2 ecosystem is about 5 billion, but you can see a steep growth curve from 2019 all the way up to 2022. So we expect the TVL and staking, once it's enabled on layer 2s, to exponentially take off in the coming decade. And the ecosystem, the layer 2 ecosystems are growing and flourishing. You have a combination of zero-knowledge rollups, optimistic rollups, app-specific rollups like DYDX and Loopring. So the domain of layer 2s are expanding rapidly. And if you look at the TVL as a function of the total Ethereum TVL. About $4 billion of that is in staking. So you can see staking dominates a large portion of the market share. And Steve will now talk about Faro and why Faro is an ideal liquid staking solution for layer 2 ZK rollups.
All right, thanks, Tao. So let's get to it. So just to reiterate, Faro, which is us, we are a one-stop liquid staking solution for all major ZK L2s. And what that means is primarily we do liquid staking, which is, as Tao had mentioned, one-to-one backed a derivative token for when you stake with us. We are non-rebasing, which means it's tax efficient. You don't have to, because if you are rebasing, that means you get yield at every epoch. And then every time you receive yield, that is a taxable event. And then you have to do all kinds of calculations. So for us, the amount of derivative tokens you get remains constant, but the amount of underlying assets you can redeem it for increases over time. And lastly, we aim for it to be permissionless, so anyone can join as a node operator. And beyond this, we're also introducing some risk premium staking, like two main parts. So depending on if you want to do risk-free staking or like risk staking, you get a different amount of derivative tokens. So this will be covered like the precise model is TBD. We'll talk more about that when we get in the future. So you may be thinking, liquid staking sounds familiar, right? Because you probably heard of Lido, Rocket Pool, or you've even staked with Coinbase or other centralized exchanges. So this is a simple chart that highlights the differences between us and I guess we consider them to be competitors. For example, firstly, we have a decentralized governance. Everything will be done through a DAO. I mean, likewise for Lido, Rocket Pool, but not Coinbase. We are permissionless. We can tell that Lido, pretty sure they are not permissionless yet. So if you want, you are not able to set up a Lido node, even if you want to. Yeah. And we are non-rebasing. And lastly, the key difference that we have over the competitors is that we introduced the risk premium staking. So we'll get into that like in future developments, but essentially you can choose between risk-free staking, which means you get the yield at no risk to yourself, or you can opt for risk staking, which means you get a slightly higher yield, but you take on a bit more risk. Okay, so yeah, what are our plans for the immediate future? We are going with DoraHacks. We're doing Grant DAO because it gives us a nominal sum to help with the startup costs, and also the opportunity to work with the more engaging communities in the crypto space. Yeah, because we actually like talk to a lot of different organizations who all have offered grants in the past, but I think at least we believe DoraHacks is the best place to kickstart our project. And how are we going to use the money, right? Oh, sorry. So upfront costs, we got to buy our domain name, set up the dev environment, set up legal entities, Singapore, BVI, and so on. And yeah, so milestone 1, we'll have built out our MVP. We'll have launched a testnet alpha, which we will extend invitations to members of the community to come and try. And lastly, milestone 2, we'll have launched the testnet beta. We have done a security and code audit. We'll have much more community management, legal, and marketing. So the money will be spent on all of these things at the 3 milestones. And for our timeline, we aim to have an alpha testnet next year, before Q2 next year. So these are all pretty conservative timelines because we don't want to overpromise anything. But we will still try to be well under it. Yeah, so alpha testnet before Q2, after which we'll launch a seed round, secure some liquidity for our liquidity pools, and the initial amount of stake, yes. And Q4, we target to have our product launch. Now, this is dependent on the ZK layer 2 rollups, open sourcing, their staking, and their hardware requirements, because without that, we can't really do anything either. But we are pretty confident that they will have launched by then, and so will we, yes. And then Q1 2024, we aim to be fully permissionless, which means by this time, anyone can set up a node with Faro. And Q2 onwards, we aim to do multi-chain. That means we will plan to cover like Arbitrum, Optimism when they enable staking, as well as other chains which are non-EVM based as well. DAO, we have Leo, who is not with us today because he's pretty sick. And then that's me, Steve. And yeah, that's it. I welcome any questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tal and Steve. Appreciate your time and your presentation. A question that I had for you guys was in terms of your go-to-market strategy and attracting users to Faro. What's your plan? What's your plan, and how do you aim to do that? And also, I mean, from that, who do you think your user base will be, and who do you aim to attract?
I'll give this one to Steve.
Okay, in terms of marketing, we actually have a young lady working with us. She's actually very good at marketing, but because of certain reasons, we can't really disclose her identity. But she's worked with pretty major projects in the past. We are quite confident in her ability to see this through. In terms of initial user base, we're probably targeting funds and like at the start, because we do need them for the initial liquidity, because they'll be helping us maintain the liquidity pool. Because with, for example, with Lido, you have STETH, right? But if you want to exit from your STETH position, it's impossible to do so, because there is no unstaking of ETH2. So what you gotta do is you gotta swap out your STETH for regular ETH on the Curve pool. And this is something that we have to consider as well. If someone wants to quickly exit their position, we need to have a liquidity pool installed for them as well. So this liquidity pool will be made up with like a mixture of the derivative tokens and underlying assets. And this will be funded by VC money, as well as our initial strategic partners, which will be, I guess, market makers and funds.
Yeah, fantastic. And in terms of other ZK protocols that you aim to integrate, I mean, have you already formed these? I mean, have you already began integrating any other protocols, or is that something that that you guys are planning to do in the near future?
It's something we're planning to do. So we've talked to all of the major ZKL2s, so the Polygon Stack, ZK Sync, Scroll, Starkware. We've talked to their backend engineers, so their engineering team, their ecosystem leads. Right now, the protocols are still in their initial states, so they still have a lot of bugs, and they still have a long way to go until they fully decentralize. If you wanted to integrate right now, you can't. A lot of ZK VMs are not currently on testnet, and the ones that are still have limited functionality. So integration really will come months before the ZK VMs launch on mainnet, which is still a while away. And that's why, Steve, if you go back to our timeline, you can see product launches around Q4 of 2023. Because we still expect the decentralization launch of these ZK VMs is about a year away. So to sum it up, integration is not currently possible, but eventually it will be. And we have started talking to the ZK VM teams.
Fantastic. Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for your time today. And I believe Klizma team is not available at the moment. So I guess we'll wrap it up here. So thank you. Thanks to both of you for presenting for us today and contributing your time and efforts to today's demo session. It was great to hear from you and hear what your team is building. Obviously, it's very helpful for our community to better understand your project vision and future plans. People in the audience, if you do have any questions for the Faro team, please feel free to reach out and join the community and engage with them, as I'm sure they would love to hear from you. Please also don't forget that voting opens on November 5th. So as I mentioned earlier, if you would like to participate in voting, please stake your Dora to receive some VC Dora and you'll be eligible to vote. Again, if you would like some more details on how to stake Dora and vote, please refer to the link in the description of this video, which will take you to the DoraHacks blog. Over the coming week and the next few days, we do have a series of events like today coming up where the Dora Grant DAO finalists will be sharing their projects with us. So if you are interested and haven't followed us already on YouTube and Binance Lives, please make sure that you do so that you don't miss out on these videos. Please make sure as well to get in touch and also follow us and join our community via Twitter, Telegram, and Discord using the QR codes that you can see on the screen. And thanks again for joining us today, and we hope to see you again soon. And thanks to the Faro team.
Thank you, George, and thank you, DoraHacks.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Oh, I think we have got the Klezmer team, actually.